There it is.
There we go. Okay.
Now it is. Would you look at that? So now it's being recorded and you will not miss a beat.
Oh, okay, good. I just got the message.
So
Yes.
I am Julie Gaona, and I am the new chapter engagement manager for the Southwest. So I am actually based in Dallas, Texas. So I get to work with all our Texas chapters, our Colorado chapter, and our fantastic Arizona chapter. So I'm really happy to have all of y'all on the call today. It's so great to meet y'all. I'm just so happy to be here, and this is a phenomenal chapter. So just happy everybody was able to schedule in some time on their Saturday to find out some new information. If you give me a quick second, I'm going to share my screen and go over a few just slides about the foundation in case you don't know too much about us. And if you do, that's fantastic. We love it. We're happy you're here. So give me 1 second and I will get this slide up. And here we go. So just a little bit about our foundation. So we're the largest private funder of retinal degenerate disease research in the world. We've raised over $816 million, and it is because of chapters like this. It's the hard work within the community that makes our foundation so great. So we are just really thankful for all our local chapters. We are research funded, so that's lab, translational, clinical trials, career development awards, natural history, registry, and genetic testing. So it is also, we are also working with the entire spectrum of inherited retinal diseases, including retinitis pigmentosa, Stargardt's disease, Usher's syndrome, and labral congenital osmosis, and then dry AMD. So just a quick thing of our vision. So we have 3 main areas of focus specifically with the chapter, and that's going to be education, resources, and revenue. So we're always sharing our latest advancements of research with the local community. We are providing access to local resources to guide individuals through their personal journey, which is especially what today's speaker series is going to be through. We have some incredible resources that we're here to talk to y'all about. So once again, I'm so happy that y'all are able to join us. And then we're accelerating our mission by participating in our fundraising events and creating new ways to fundraise locally, which is really excited. We do have something coming up in the spring that I think everybody's going to be really excited about. So just keep an eye out for that. And then I want to introduce our chapter leadership. As Phi said, Phi is the president of our Arizona chapter. He is an amazing resource. If this is the first time you've ever had a connection with us, please reach out to Phi. He's fantastic and can connect you with somebody within your community or somebody within the foundation. We do have a special speaker today who is our resource chair, and that's going to be Theresa. She is a phenomenal resource, as we say it, to our chapter, and we're so happy to have her on leadership and have her as a speaker today. We do have a phenomenal revenue chair who's going to be Carrie Ringel. Like I said, we have something exciting coming out in the spring that I think everybody's going to be excited for that Carrie has been working on. Our education chair is going to be Dr. Victoria Horseman. She's a fantastic resource if anybody is looking for any research or doctors within the area. And then I am excited to introduce Rhonda Carroll, who will be introducing something here shortly. She is our diversity and inclusion chair for the Arizona chapter. And like I said, she'll be sharing something a little exciting here that we're excited to get out there. And then Phi, I will hand it over to you about some Vision Walk information.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. So as Julie mentioned, we have a nice active chapter here in Arizona, and we're excited to bring back the Arizona Vision Walk in 2022 and bring it back in person and bring it, hopefully, bring it back safely, which is absolutely everybody's goal. So you see some dates here. So what we'll do is we'll have a Vision Walk kickoff, and that is planned for January 8th. It's a Saturday. So just right after the new year. We have the time and location are to be determined. We'll probably finalize that here next week. We just want to confirm that, but I'm super excited to be able to have a kickoff. We'll share some of the latest in research that's going on within the foundation. And then also talk about our Vision Walk in 2022. So this will be our 17th annual Vision Walk. And this year, as you see here, the date is February 26th, and that is also a Saturday. And the time, I think, is to be determined, although we usually start around 8 a.m. And the location, you'll probably notice if you've been to our walks in the past, you'll notice this is a new location. It's going to be at Glendale Heroes Regional Park, which is very close to the Cardinal Stadium out in Glendale. So our venue that we've had for the past 2 years, by the time that we decided we were able to do outdoor events through the foundation, we inquired about the Indian Steel Park. Unfortunately, a different organization had already reserved it for that weekend. But we think that Glendale Heroes Regional Park is beautiful. They're currently building a lake that actually might be done. They're supposed to be finished in October, November. So they're just expanding this beautiful park. We'll have a very safe path to walk on. So I'm actually really excited to do something new and do something a little bit different in a new location. So it'll just be kind of fresh and exciting for all of us. So hopefully you'll be able to attend. If you could keep those dates, we'll definitely hear more about it. And since how everybody was able to join today, that means you're getting emails from the foundation. We will definitely have more information about about our kickoff and the actual vision walk coming up. A little bit about the walk. It's generally about a 5K. No one keeps tabs. We're not going to say like, oh, sorry, you didn't finish your 5K or anything like that. And it's just a great day to just celebrate who we are, and just have all our friends and family come to support us. And obviously it's a fundraiser as well. We ask people to like create teams and just help us raise money for the research that Julie talked about. So it'll just be a great day. It's our largest fundraiser. We have a goal of about $100,000 for this next year. So I would love to have every one of you on this call join us for that. I attended my first vision walk just kind of like randomly. I heard about the foundation. I just showed up, like I registered the week before and came to my first walk, and my life was changed. So hopefully, if you haven't been, please join us for that. Before we go to the next slide, I do want to share 2 additional events that are coming up, and hopefully you've gotten that, or actually an event and just something else. So in 2 weeks, the foundation is having a chapters webinar, and the topic is emerging therapies. So if you've attended any of the national webinars, this is something where we bring all of our chapters together. We bring national speakers to come. And actually this event came about, or this topic for low vision came about the foundation's last webinar in September that was just in low vision in general. So we wanted to bring forth like what are the low vision services here in Arizona. So our next webinar is on the 20th. So we'll make sure that if you haven't received the first invite went out this week. If you didn't see that, let me know. We'll make sure we get that out to you. But that's on the 20th. And another thing that's relatively new, I wanted to just make sure everybody's aware of, is the foundation started podcasts. So I listen to podcasts through an app on my iPhone. So it's obviously available in a lot of different other formats. So anywhere that you could probably listen to a podcast, the Foundation Fighting Blindness now has one. It's hosted by Ben Shaberman, and he is just fantastic and knows so much about research and connections with the various doctors. I think there's been about 15 or so episodes out now that you can go back and listen to. And every week he just talks to different researchers or doctors or companies. The one I just listened to, I think that just came out recently, was around manufacturing of how we do gene replacement therapies and kind of the manufacturing of those viruses, safe viruses, not harmful viruses. So it was very interesting to hear that. So I think if we'll utilize the chat, I'll look to see if we can find where you can find a listing of that as well too. So just wanted to share those 2 resources to everybody, plus a wealth of other things you can find on our foundation's website. So I'll pause to see if there's any questions with anything that Julie talked about or that I talked about before we move on. All right, well, please continue to use the chat. If you have a question, let us know, but I'd love to turn it over next to Rhonda, who is going to share something that she's been working on, and I'm very proud to introduce for our chapter. So Rhonda, I'll let you take it away. And then if you get the chance, you may need to mute.
Now, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm so excited that we've been working on our diversity and inclusion statement, and I'd like this opportunity just to share it with everybody. Thank you so much for Michelle for helping me come up with this. It's really, I think, an awesome statement. And it goes to fulfill the foundation. Oh, and before I start, I'm actually outside, so please forgive the noise. To fulfill the foundation for Fighting Blindness's mission, we celebrate and embrace our community's diverse strengths by creating and maintaining a welcoming and supportive space for all. We respect all experiences, ideas, opinions, and perspectives equally as a community. We believe robust participation by diverse populations is the key to funding, researching, and developing sight-saving cures for all. We value diversity, inclusion, and accessibility as essential to reaching our goal of finding treatments, preventions, and cures for blinding retinal diseases. So like I said, I'm so excited to get started on this mission. And I am recruiting people to be a part to do, so that we can develop some more workshops, develop more seminars. So if anybody is interested, please put that in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. Yes. So thank you so much for really spearheading this, not only for Arizona, but really for the foundation. I think you've moved and really helped the foundation think about diversity and inclusion. And we're starting small with the statement for our chapter. I know there's other diversity and inclusion chairs within other chapters as well too. So I'm excited to see how this will evolve for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you, Rhonda, for sharing that. All right. Well, we are going to move on to our next portion of the presentation, which is on our panel. And many of you, and thank you so much for sharing about yourself and what you're hoping to learn today. And definitely the focus is on our low vision service, on the low vision services. So we will talk about 4 different groups and organizations today. I'll introduce what the plan is. We'll spend about 5 to 10 minutes for each one of these different areas. They're going to share about their organization, tell us about the services, how we can apply for those and receive those. So we'll go through with each one of the 4 panelists first. So what I'd like to do is, if you have any questions that you have for them, if you could either wait until we let each of the panelists finish his or her portion, or you can put it into the chat that we have here in Zoom, and we can make sure those questions are answered. We'll have plenty of time at the end here to do Q&A to allow you to ask questions afterwards. I do want to make sure each of the panelists has time to go over their portion. So as you see here, we'll have Arizona talking about library, rehabilitation services, administration, or also known as a service called Voc Rehab or Vocational Rehabilitation, independent living for the blind, which is a program for those 55 and older, and then a conference coming up called VRATE 2021. So with that, let me queue up my page correctly here, Julie. I have the privilege of introducing our panelists, And you've heard a little bit from each as they've introduced themselves as well. So I'll share first. So first we have Christine Tuttle. She is the outreach librarian at Arizona Talking Book Library. Christine received her MLIS from the University of Arizona, Bear Down. And in 2007, she joined Talking Book Library as the Reader's Advisor and Communities Librarian. And since 2009, Christine has been in her current role, which provides workshops for libraries, professional associations, and the public through Arizona. Christine is an active member in the American Library Association, ALA, and the Arizona Library Association, which is AZLA. So I'm excited to turn it over to Christine, who will tell us more about the Arizona Talking Book Library program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. We have a lot of new people here today that are unfamiliar with the resources that the library has. So I'm going to forego the presentation that I had, which is a little bit more detailed in depth for current users of the library, and focus on providing what the library is and how we serve our public. So a little bit of history for me. My husband's family has retinitis pigmentosa. All of our uncles and all but one of our nephews has RP. So that's how I got involved with this library. And before that, I was with the Phoenix Public Library, Burton Bar Central Library in their assistive technology department. So I was there responsible on how parents would come in to get their lessons brailled for their children, how to go and navigate through a screen reader. So I'm one of those geeky librarians that like all the new technology stuff. And my current role is outreach librarian, and then I've been moved back into acquiring now the institution accounts. So all of those organizations besides academic, hospitals, senior centers, support groups, voc rehab, are able to have what we call a community an account with us. So it was called institutions, and I hate that word. So it's now community engagement. And that's where I'm going to be leading to. I'm still going to be doing outreach. I do have a army of volunteers throughout the state that's able to go out throughout Arizona and volunteer. So for me, it's much more than just Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. My husband's family comes from southeastern Arizona, so Sierra Vista, Wilcox, Douglas, that area. So for me, it's much more than just the big cities that get services. I really want to focus on every little township and every little town throughout Arizona, rural and metro, that needs our services to provide them for them. So we serve specifically the visually impaired and physically limited as a public library service. So just like a public library, we have fiction and nonfiction, we have romance, Westerns, mysteries, we have biographies of every type. We have our youngest patron is 4 years old. So we have everything from Head Start and preschool level reading materials all the way up to the latest and greatest. Do we have everything? No, that's not going to be possible, but we have a little bit of everything in our collection. On top of our audiobooks, we also have magazines that are audio described, as well as our movies. We have over 1,000 movies for people. And so, well, how can a person who has less sight watch a movie? Well, there's a narrator that comes on and describes the scene, they describes the action, they describe what the characters look like. And then once the characters start talking again, the narrator is quiet. So for a visual media, you're able to enjoy a movie. Where my father-in-law sat down with our girls And I think I could recite Mulan to you, word for word, front to back with all the songs and ditties that go along with it. But it was great. He had enough sight that he could still see bright colors. So he would ask, what's Mushu color? And the girls would respond to him. So it was a great way for him to sit down and just be grandpa and, watch a movie with girls. So like I said, there's no age limit. There's no reading limit. We have people that, call us many times a month saying, what do you recommend? And then we have people that never call us and they're able to, download books to their heart's content. Now, imagine walking into your local public library. That librarian is not going to grab your hand saying, we're going to read cooking books today. No, they're going to let you explore the breadth and depth of the collection and be there as a guide to help you find your materials. And that's what the reader advisors do. We advise the readers on what, based on their likes and dislikes, on what they should read next. We push people sometimes to read something different, and it's a 50-50 split. Sometimes they'll go for it. Sometimes they don't. We do find that once people engage with our library, they're now forming their own book clubs. The library does have their own book club, and it's all done over the phone. So now I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back to basics here. How do you sign up for the library? Well, because we are a specific library, a specialized library, every state has a talking book library, and our federal parent organization is the National Library Service for the Print Disabled, and they are a division of the Library of Congress. So we have the Library of Congress behind us. And we also have now what we call an international treaty called the Marrakesh Treaty to get international books into our collection. So it always starts off with an application for service, and that could be signed by a medical professional, the voc rehab instructors, a social worker, any educator throughout the state, or any librarian throughout the state. Just because you're using our service does no way prohibit you from enjoying the programming and other wonderments at the local public library as well. So once the application is completed and signed by that certifying authority, it is either mailed or faxed back to the library. And our physical address is 1030 North 32nd Street in Phoenix, 85008. And our fax number is 602-286-0444. Faxing is the quickest way of getting to us now. We cannot do attachments for applications at this time. Again, federal government, things run a little bit behind. We were just allowed to do faxing about 8-9 years ago of applications in. So once the completed application gets returned to the library, you are assigned your own personal librarian. It's based on your last name. There will always be someone to ask questions with, and there'll always be someone to answer your call. If you do get our voicemail, please follow the instructions and leave those details, and there's always going to be someone to get back with you. Our library is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We turn off our phones at 4 so the librarians can finish up their work throughout from the day. We do all of business over the phone, through the United States Postal Service, and email. All the services, just like a public library, people have already paid for the service with their tax dollars. We don't even have overdue fees. We have volunteers that call you up. Hi, your book is overdue. Please return it when you can. That's it. We have people that read 2 books a day. We have people that read 2 books a month. We have people that read none of our books and only get magazines and newspapers from us. Again, this is your library. You're able to go through the collection as you wish. You're welcome to call us as often as you wish. We do follow up with you about 6 weeks later to make sure everything is fine with you. We assign all the equipment if you choose our physical collection. We provide you with the headphones, the player. Again, all of this is delivered through the Postal Service, and it goes right to your mailbox. And it doesn't matter if it's a rural route number, or PO box, or in-place mailing address. We also have a downloadable collection which contains quadruple the number of books we currently have. We have roughly 100,000 books in our physical collection, so roughly 425,000 books in our downloadable collection. And people could have both the downloadable and the physical collections. Again, this is your library. This is how you navigate through it. So the librarian, once they get your application, they're going to call you. They're going to do a 10-minute interview with you, and they're going to find out what you like to read and what you don't like to read. And we read everything from front to back, cover to cover. We leave nothing out. If it's on the printed page, we say it. So all of our books are in audio format. And that interview finds out if you object to anything that has strong language, violence, or sexual content. We usually ask people to leave off those exclusions. And then it's able to have more of a conversation with your librarian to find out what people exactly like. We can leave everything on for you if you like. But one person's objection to a curse word may be someone else's objection to something else. So we are building a relationship with you to find out what you truly like and truly understand that what you want to read. So we start you off with a couple cartridges. We have moved on to now multiple books on one cartridge. This is very exciting for us. We can put up to 6 books on one cartridge, and it's really simple to navigate. Our player has large, colorful buttons on there. There is Braille markers on all of them. It's a 2-hour charge with a 30-hour play. You don't have to leave it plugged in. With the headphones, you're welcome then to go in when you're waiting for dial ride or waiting for your next appointment. You could be listening to a book to your heart's content. To return a book, all you have to do is just turn over the mail label that's on that box, and then just drop it in the mail for us. So again, once you read something, you turn it in, you're reading the next cartridge, another cartridge is being sent to you. And we right now we have only a limit of 2 cartridges, but as the program gets going, duplication on demand, the multi-book cartridge just started in July. So we're going to be expanding that program. So the books get returned. It gets returned in the mail. We still are isolating books, so everything is taking a little bit slower. But if you're ever running out of books, we could always increase or decrease the number of books per cartridge for you. Free service throughout the state. Sky's the limit on what you want to read. We have over 85 magazines to choose from, and they range from anywhere from Humpty Dumpty and Cricket for Kids, all the way up to National Geographic and People magazine. Our movies range anywhere from Disney and Pixar all the way up to the latest and greatest. And most of them are now on DVD. Our newspapers are done through your telephone. It's called Newsline. And we have a service that has 300 newspapers throughout the country. So if you like the Wall Street Journal, we could get that. You could get that on your phone. If you like the LA Times, you could get that on your phone. If you like the local papers, so the Sun, the Daily, and the Star, we could get that on your phone as well. So free service. We are really excited about expanding our certifying authority beyond just the medical professionals, social workers, activities directors on your community campuses, as well as the educators and librarians that serve our community as well. Any questions? I just basically threw 30 minutes worth of work at you at 10.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. We do have one. I think I know we said we'd hold questions at the end, but I do want to get this one out as well too. There's a question about how is this the same or different from BARD?
It is the same program where our physical collection is the player and the headphones and the physical cartridges. BARD is our downloadable collection, and BARD stands for Braille and Audio Reading Download. So if you have an e-reader that does Braille, you can download BARD and it will do Braille books for you. if you have any portable device, so a tablet, a laptop, a phone, you could get Bard on your device, and you could be listening to books that way as well. So again, people could have the physical device. So if they want to just play it at home and they don't want to use, energy for it, that they could just do that. Like for me, out and about, I will have my tablet ready, and I'll be listening to a book while waiting in line for something. But yeah, people could have both. And like I said, because there's no physical limitations on where we store a book, so it's all in the cloud, we have not only the collection for Arizona involved, but we have a collection throughout the entire country involved. So if someone's waiting for wanting to read a book on Wisconsin's natural history, we can get that. If a person from Michigan wants an Arizona themed book, we could get that for them. So Bard just broadens out the number of our collection for that person.
Fantastic. I'm gonna, in the interest of time, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to Dr. Brian Dulude next, who's going to talk a little bit about the services that he provides, that he's oversees. Please continue to add any questions. Ari, I see your question here. I'd like to get that answered at the end because we might be able to cover both as well. So please, if anyone else has questions, go ahead and add them to the chat or hold on to them. We'll definitely make sure we get to those. But I'm going to introduce Brian here. So he is the Regional Program Manager at the Arizona Rehabilitation Services Administration. And he oversees the vocational rehabilitation for those who are blind, visually impaired, deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf blind. He also supervises the Business Enterprise Program and the Older Blind Program. He's blind himself and has a fundamental belief in blind people. He also loves to smoke meat for friends and family. So maybe you'll all hear more about that part as well too. So Brian, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Let you tell us more about the different services that you oversee, and let you take it from there.
Great, thanks, Faye. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with all of y'all. And, I've had over 20 years of experience in vocational rehabilitation one way or another. I started off my career as an orientation and mobility instructor and taught people to travel independently using a long white cane and indoors and outdoors. And did that for about 7 years, and then decided, I want to have an impact and work with more than maybe 8 to 10 folks a year. And so I jumped into vocational rehabilitation and got my doctorate from the University of Arkansas. And then I started off as a vocational rehabilitation counselor for the transition-aged youth for the blind. And then about 6 months into the job, my supervisor resigned, and they asked me to fill in. So I was in Utah, and so I supervised vocational rehabilitation there for the blind and visually impaired, and did that for about 4 years. I also had the opportunity to be assistant director at a training center for the blind. And finally, now I'm here in Arizona as the regional program manager. Arizona is great and has a fantastic program for people who are blind and visually impaired or deafblind. And so we have this program called Vocational Rehabilitation. A lot of you may be familiar with it, but it is a federal program that states administer. And it's there to help people who are blind and visually impaired or deafblind or with other disabilities find and maintain employment. And so if a person who is blind and is wanting to work, then they can call up vocational rehabilitation. It's not really hard. There is, the vocational rehabilitation here in Arizona is administered through the Department of Economic Security. So if you do a quick Google search of rehabilitation, vocational rehabilitation Arizona, you'll find our website there, and we'll be able to connect with the phone number and be able to also get referred to the correct office that we have. We have offices in Flagstaff, Prescott, here in Phoenix, a couple places in Phoenix, in Tucson, and in Yuma. But we're a statewide program, and we cover and help people to find employment. So the process for vocational rehabilitation is, you'll call that number and you'll be referred to a counselor, and you'll go kind of through an orientation, and you'll fill out an application. And once you fill out that application, we have about 60 days to determine your eligibility. We try and shorten that because customer service is really important to us, and we want people to get the help they need as quickly as they can. So we have 60 days to determine your eligibility. We try to do that way quicker than that. But after, if you are found eligible, then you work with your counselor to develop a vocational goal, and you develop an individualized plan for employment, and that's based around that vocational goal or the job that you want to pursue. And if that job or career requires an education, say like if you wanted to go into the field of law and be a lawyer, or if you wanted to be an engineer, or if you wanted to be a teacher, then you would select that goal and work with your counselor to develop your plan for employment. Once we try and develop that plan for employment pretty quick. It's similar to the eligibility. We try to do it within 90 days, and but we try and do it faster than that 90 days, so that we find that if we help our clients to be engaged by working with them throughout the process, then they remain engaged, and the relationship between the counselor and the client is real important to us. We really want people to succeed, and people really have. People have found employment through Amazon, they've found employment in the various school districts if they're teachers. People have found employment through the federal government. So there's a wide variety of places that people have decided to get jobs. And vocational rehabilitation is the means for helping people to do that. We're glad to be here in Arizona and to serve people who are blind or visually impaired. I also supervise. I know you guys are going to talk a little bit about the Elder Blind program, so I won't take too much time talking about that. But if you're 55 or older and are interested in gaining independent living skills, we do have teachers here in the state that will be able to go out to your homes or do things virtually and help you with your independent living needs. and we help people learn Braille, independent cooking, the orientation mobility, assistive technology. We also have a program here in Arizona, if you're legally blind and interested in owning your own business, and either in the food service industry or in vending, you could be part of what it was called the Business Enterprise Program, and be trained to be a licensed operator. And you would be assigned either a cafeteria, working in an area where you would be running a food service business, or you would, or if you're interested in vending, having vending machines throughout state and federal offices, then you could pursue that. We're proud of the Business Enterprise Program here in Arizona. We've the average salary per year is between 40 and 90,000 a year. So it's a pretty good living wage for people who are interested in owning their own business. So as the vocational rehabilitation process, not only do we help you find that employment, but we'll help you get there. As I said, education, if your vocational goal requires an education, we'll help send you through school if that's necessary. If you need help with your low vision devices, assistive technology, in order to do the things you need to do on the job and access information, then we'll provide that training as well. Comprehensive services for training for the blind is also can be included there as well. And so it's a broad array of services that we provide, and glad to be here. So anybody have any questions related to Voc Rehab or Business Enterprise?
Yeah, Dr. Dulude, thank you so much for sharing about the program. I know it's definitely something that is a great service to us here in Arizona. What I'm going to do, we've got a couple questions that have come in through the chat. I'm going to hold off on those. And I think that let's segue over to Theresa, who's going to talk about the independent living blind for the blind program, which you talked about, and would also love to have, if there's anything that is anything you'd want to add, feel free to add to that as well too. So Theresa, I'm going to turn it over to you next, Theresa. Theresa joined the foundation Fighting Blindness in July of this year, and she is the resource chair for our chapter. So Theresa is a proud member of the Phoenix Pioneer Lions Club for the last 5 years, where she held the position of club secretary, vice president, and is the current club president. She also is the club vision chair and works with local school nurses throughout the Phoenix, Glendale, and Peoria school districts to provide eyeglasses and exams for students in need. While in Lions, she also has received several awards, including the highest, which is the Melvin Jones Fellowship. So Theresa, as our resource chair, is filling in and has done some great research for our next topic around the independent living for the blind program. So Theresa is going to share about that and how about those services, how to apply, and give us some more information. So Theresa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Fi, for that great introduction. Just to clarify, I'm with the Peoria Pioneer Lions, not the Phoenix Lions.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
And That's okay. I am also visually impaired. I am blind in one eye on my left eye since birth with a condition known as anterior cleavage syndrome. It's also known as Peters anomaly. I'm speaking on behalf of the agency called Independent Living for the Blind, and I have been speaking with Angela Waite from there. It is a state agency affiliated with the Arizona Department of Economic Security. The age group they service is 55 and older who experience vision loss or blindness that affects their daily lifestyle. The services they offer rehabilitation service like home management, daily living skills. They teach you how to do things safely and easy in your home. They offer magnifiers to be able to read your mail. One of the things they offer readers, and they offer these through Talking Book. So they refer anybody to Talking Book Library who is interested in reading a book or a magazine. Assistive technology, they use a JAWS or Zoom Tech, and that's what they offer. Orientation and mobility training, they train you to use a white cane. They learn how to get around, your neighborhood and your home and outside of your home, and getting to and from doctor's appointments. How to get around, in a car safely and things like that. Peer counseling groups are offered via Zoom only right now because of COVID. And also due to COVID, there is a wait list depending on the area you live in. And you'll be contacted as soon as your name comes up on the list. Right now, there is a 3-month wait list for rehabilitation services, a 3 to 6 month wait list for assistive technology, and a 6 to 12 month for orientation and mobility training. Obviously, if you need multiple services, you'll get contacted as your name comes up on the list, and for that particular service, because obviously some services are less time than others. To apply for the services, you call Independent Living for the Blind at their main telephone number, which is 602-771-5310. Then you just simply await a call from Angela Waite. She'll call you and she'll schedule your intake appointment. The client's responses to the questions that she asks on the intake appointment will depend on the services that he or she may need. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Theresa. I really appreciate you stepping in to do the research and chat with Angela and share this portion. I know she wasn't able to meet with us today, so thank you for that. Brian, was there anything else that you'd want to add to this program? Because I think you oversee this as well too, is that correct?
That's correct, and Theresa did a pretty good job on talking about the different services. We do, it's a statewide program, so if you have needs in whatever city that you are in, we learned a lot of things during the pandemic, and one thing is that we can meet with people virtually, and that we can actually train some of the things that we do non-visually, and not and do it over the phone or using Zoom or Google Meets. And actually, even last year, we worked with one of our vendors to develop a virtual low vision assessment that it isn't as comprehensive as a a full low vision assessment, but it will give information on magnification, sizes. It gives information on contrast, and so it's a good place to get more information and find some things that will be very helpful for folks so that they can remain doing the things that they want to do.
Wonderful, thank you. And Brian, if you look, the way I think about, and let me know if this is correct or not, the way I think about the services between Voc Rehab and this one here for the independent living for the blind is that Voc Rehab is focused on if you intend to return to work. The independent living for the blind is if you do not intend to go back to work and are over 55 years old. Is that an accurate distinction? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, excellent.
So,
We'll
so
get
wait a
into
minute,
more-
just real quick.
Okay.
If you're retired, then it's better to go with independent living?
This is Brian. I would say yes.
Okay.
If you are, but there's it's a kind of a mixed bag. If a lot of people that are retired still want to kind of do something, as far as employment. So if you have a desire to even go with a a part-time job, we can work with that too.
Oh, okay, but if you're over 55, I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. Better to go with the independent living as opposed to the Voc Rehab for the younger folk, right?
Well, it's as I
Either
said,
way,
it's
okay.
I would say that it just depends on the individual. If you have a desire to to continue, even part-time work, we can work that into
Okay.
vocational rehabilitation.
I just didn't want to take a space for someone who's coming up.
Well, definitely, we have enough space for sure.
Okay,
And so,
that's all
yeah.
I was thinking about, because I wouldn't want to take a space from someone who's in their 20s coming up and dealing with all of that when I'm sort of on my way out and looking for things that would address different issues. So I wouldn't want to take a space from someone who's on their way up. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's fair, but we got room enough for everybody.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nice. No, it's good, Artie. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we've got some more questions coming in, so please feel free to add those to the chat. We do have one last panelist or area. We've also already heard from Christine Tuttle, so she's playing dual roles today.
No.
Yeah, you heard about the Arizona Talking Book Library. So Christine is also the chair for the VRATE Conference. And Christine's going to tell us a little bit more about that. But the VRATE Conference is coming up here in 2 weeks on the 19th of November. This is the 25th anniversary, and it's also free. So we thought, like, with the timing of this meeting and VRATE, we'd love to hear more about it. So Christine, I'm going to turn it over to you to tell us more about VRATE.
Okay.
Thank you, Phi. For VRATE 2021, it was to be scheduled for November 19th. We had run into a few snags with just scheduling of all of the board members. And so we had made the very difficult decision to move VRATE to 2022 next 6 months. So we're planning for April 2022, and then we are planning for in-person November 2022. So this should be our last virtual conference. And then what we are planning on for November is to still have that virtual component, because some people are still not comfortable about being out in public. Last year we had, for VRATE 2019, our last physical in-person event, we had 1,100 people through the building, and it was quite crowded. So that's a good point. We are actually growing out of Glendale Civic Center, so we are hunting possibly for a new event unless Glendale can work with us on finding more space.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, it's been great. I've been chair now for the last 3 years. VRATE was virtual last year, and it was our first time, and it was still a great success. We just wanted to make sure we brought back in the CEU component there, so all those professionals can get their continuing education credits. And that's why we decided to postpone it, because we're off that radar for a while. And I want to make sure that we have all of our little duckies in a row when it comes to that. So for those who are not familiar with VRATE, it's an acronym that stands for Rehabilitation and Assistive Technology Expo. And it's a free conference. It's the largest one in the Southwest. That's totally free for the participants. We have roughly 45 vendors that are all about assistive technology and support organizations. So we have Voc Rehab there. We have the Talking Book Library there. But we also have OrCam. We have all of those organizations, all of those companies that have all those assistive technologies. So an in-person conference is just what we're chomping at the bit for, because it's mainly our driver for people to come. And of course, our lectures are really, really informative. We have ophthalmologists that talk about the latest, greatest treatments and processes. We have organizations say for, what was the other one? For our keynote, we had the Special Educator of the Year talking about children's services and how to get more integrated in your children's academic and working between parents and teachers for their associations and things like that. So it's not just for older adults, it's for our largest group that we had for 2019 was anywhere from 25 to 35 years old was our largest group. And we did have many, many people there that were bussed in from Tucson. So the longest place that we had for those who came in was Kingman and in the north, and then Wilcox in the south, and people all over the place. It's for one day. We did have a 2-day event to incorporate children, since it was National Children's Month one time. But for this conference coming up, we're hoping again to plan for April. It will be again a virtual event. It will be from 7 to 5 throughout the day. A date has yet to be determined. We'll schedule that determination for next Friday, so be out on the lookout for that. If you haven't participated in VRATE before, please do look through our website. It's VRATE, V as Victor, RATE.org, O-R-G. And you'll see past conference participants, you'll see past exhibitor participants. And then if you ever need any information on how to get in contact with those organizations, our contact information is right there on the front page. And you'll be listening to me and hearing me throughout Facebook and Twitter and other social media, since I do that as well. We are on the hunt for a few people, many people actually, to join our board. We have learned so much from the last 18, 20 months that people could live anywhere, literally anywhere, and still participate as a board member. So please do consider it. It's a great group of diverse people. We have professionals like me. Jordan Moon is part of it from Savvy. We have the deafblind community represented. And we really do want to make sure that this is an all-inclusive. And I've learned so much from all the board members as well. So it's a little bit of bittersweet, but I do think that postponing the VRATE until 2022, spring of 2022, is to everyone's benefit. And again, we're just taking a deep breath and going to go for the plunge for 2022 November for in-person. So those are the plans so far. I welcome any questions. Unfortunately, like I said, it wasn't what we had expected, and we just had to say no, stop. But I'm really committed on that decision. Any questions?
Christine, thank you for updating us on that. I know that I saw our Theresa mentioned that she had attended VRATE in 2019. Did I get the year right on that?
Yes.
Yeah, and then also we've also, as a foundation, have attended as a sponsor and you know part of the exhibit hall, which is a great way for us to meet people. My first VRATE I attended 2016 or 17 was when I learned about Voc Rehab. That's how I learned about Voc Rehab. I went in and figured out how to get services and how to apply for that was through VRATE, and so it's a great day. It's wonderful that it's free as well too. I don't think we find a lot of free conferences like this, you know, so kudos to you and the rest of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only paid
So thank
position
you.
that we have is our webmaster, and has been awesome. And again, we learned so much from everyone. We have Lions on our board. We have retired executives on our board. We have people that are coming up through the ranks who just want to get more involved, not only with their health and their questions about learning other services as well. For me, the deaf-blind community, I really didn't have any idea on all that it entails for services. So that's been a learning point for me. I've been, like I said, chair for the last 3 years. I took a hiatus because my husband was sick from 17 to 18. And then I was with Mike Perry and his crew from 15 backward. So I've been on VRATE board since 2012.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Is Tom Simmons still on the board?
Yes,
From Lions?
he is.
Okay.
He's actually going to be moving, I believe, to Colorado. But again, the power of Zoom, he is looking forward to still participating in some fashion with VRATE.
Oh, okay. Nice. Well, I'm going to open it up now. So first of all, thank you, Christine, Brian, and Theresa for that wonderful introduction to your organizations and helping us understand more. We now have time to open up for any Q&A that people have. I know there's been some questions that have been posted in the chat. So if you posted something in chat and want to ask it in person, feel free to please do that. Or Julia or I could ask that as well too. So we will now open it up to any questions we have.
Cool.
Anybody want to chime in and be brave and be the first one to ask?
I can hop in. There was a question in the chat that asked, what is a screen reader? And I think that was directed
Great.
at any of our panelists.
Yes.
I actually have a question about VRATE. This is Katrina.
Yes,
Oh, Katrina.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask is someone able to answer the question about what is a screen reader first? Do you mind, Katrina, if we get the? Okay.
I can answer about screen readers. What a screen reader is it's a software package that is either internal to the operating system, meaning it comes out of the box with either your what do you call it, your Apple product, or it comes in the box with your Windows program. And what it does is it essentially reads the information on the screen. And in Apple products, it's a program called VoiceOver in Windows. The internal one for Windows is called Narrator. There is also software packages that are either free or they cost money. There is NVDA, and there is also JAWS. JAWS is kind of the premier screen reader out there that is done through, I think it's Nispero. It used to be Freedom Scientific, but it's a powerful package that, you know, whether you're on the web or whether you're working on a document in an email or like Microsoft Word, you were able to, as you type, hear what you were typing, and also use different keyboard commands to actually hear what is on the screen, so that, you know, you can use your vision for what it's good for, and then you can plow through a lot more, you know, information using a screen reader.
Excellent, thank you. And Brian, maybe as a follow-up to that question, if someone goes through services either through Voc Rehab or Independent Living for the Blind, could they be trained on how to use the screen reader as part of that program?
Oh, absolutely. You know, part of vocational rehabilitation is helping people to access information, and screen reader is one of those means by which people will access a lot of information. So that's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is that
Katrina,
like dinosaur?
Oh.
Is that like, I'm sorry. Is that like a software called Dinosaur or something like that? Dragon, that's it.
No, it's not the same.
Dragon is, I use Dragon for all of my clinicians at work, and Dragon's a speech to text. It's where you can annotate verbally and have it actually then write it in text, which is Dragon's a Nuance product. It's made by Nuance.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Katrina, so you had a question about VRATE?
Yeah, so as far as like the board members, and I apologize because I haven't been able to attend VRATE. And so I'm not familiar with what is available there. But as far as board members or vendors or services that are provided there, do you have a parent advocate there as far as like school services that would be able to talk to parents and speak as to, I guess, what's available or advocate for kids with vision impairment with IEPs or things of that nature?
For VRATE, we are more assistive technology. That's our focus for our services. And our whole program is wrapped around the expo for each year. Those board members are people from any walk of life, both professional and the public citizenry on there. There is a number of organizations that I can always point you to help with that process for you. And then it's also a good conversation to have with your instructors that your child is served by. They are a wealth of information because they live and work in it. So to organize a meeting with them to see what resources they would be able to point you to as well. But the Talking Book Library is a library. We are all master level librarians, so that's what the MLIS is. And we are a resource for you. So we do have our children's librarian. Her name is Elizabeth, and she works very closely with the schools. So you're welcome to either email us. You could use just our general delivery email, which is talkingbooks@azlibrary.gov. Or you can call us and leave a message for Elizabeth to arrange a time to have a conference call with her. And our number is 602-255-5578. And then she would be happy to meet with you or I. A conference call between the three of us is fine, but it's mostly Elizabeth that is responsible for not only kids, but the school accounts as well.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd like to do that only because I've been through Kaylee's Corner. I've been a parent advocate for years with patient or with that kind of service. And so I didn't know if VRATE was involved with helping kids. I mean, even with my own daughter, her school district, Deer Valley Unified School District, has been a tremendous asset in getting her the technology that she's needed. But I know when she was in Peoria, we had quite difficult feat with trying to get her any sort of technology, only because she was the first visually impaired student at her school. And they really just couldn't understand our needs. And so I wasn't sure if VRATE was kind of plugged into that. And so I was just, that's kind of where that question was coming from.
Well, when we had the 2-day event, and I think it was 18, was it 19? We had so many children on, not only for the Friday, but the Saturday event, to make sure that we had children for that, and their parents were able to meet with all of the technology people for that Saturday event. It was our first 2-day event that we did. And unfortunately, school districts, they're all great at things and they're all not great at things, unfortunately. And you've experienced that too. So it's probably best just to sit down with Elizabeth and voice what you would like. And then she could then use her resources to point you in the right direction.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome, Katrina.
Thank you. Thank you, Katrina. Do we have other questions as well? I think Artie, you asked one. Yeah,
I did,
please.
In the thingy. Yeah. I was just curious about how you can gain access to the library if you haven't gone through Voc Rehab or the independent older people. You know, what if you're just somebody who has an IRD?
Just a person. Yep, you're just a person who wants to have access to all the information.
Exactly.
It's an application that is from the library's website.
Okay.
And all you have to do is go under a search engine, type in Arizona Talking Book Library.
Yeah.
And then your physician or your specialist signs for that application.
Oh, okay.
And then they could fax it back to us. And then we will give you a call. You don't need to go through any specific program. We are now empowering librarians throughout the state. They know their community. So if they notice, you know, their patron who's read the newspaper all their lives, they are now pulling out the magnifiers and, you know, having struggle on reading that print. That's what they're there for. So librarians are also a great resource. But yeah, it's
I don't have anybody in this state. My doctor's in California, and I haven't really found a new retina specialist here. But
no worries. That's fine. Perfectly fine too.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that go on actually using California's doctors and fly over there quarterly or whatever they need. So having an application signed by any qualified specialist is fine.
I'm just trying to reestablish myself here. So, you know, I didn't know who qualified to be able to sign.
So medical professionals, and that also includes social workers and rehab instructors. Any of those who work directly with our people. So not only just in the medical side, but also on the education side, would also qualify. And when in doubt, they could just, you could always call us saying, is this position okay? That's perfectly, we've expanded our certifying authority to where any of the likeliest of resources would be able to sign for the application.
I'm supposed to be seeing a low vision person here in Arizona just to reestablish myself from California to here. But I think he's more like an optometrist. I mean, he's going to be dealing with my bioptics. So does that qualify?
Yes,
Okay, great.
Does.
See, because I want to print down the application in time when I have to go see this chap and just say, please sign this now. And then, you know, get moving, because I really like the way you have your library set up, and it's much more user friendly for someone who can't, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's just much more user friendly. I always find that I have to leave breadcrumbs to figure out what I'm doing on a lot of other audiobook sites, but I like the way you guys have it set up, but I didn't know how I could qualify. So thank you for explaining that out.
You qualify by being here today, so.
Okay, great.
You have a
Thank
need for
you.
service, and we're not here to restrict any services from people.
No, that's what I really like. And while you were talking, I actually went on the website to sort of look at everything because I was so intrigued and kind of excited. So thank you.
Good. Any questions? Call the library.
This is Jason. I mean, I don't know if it helps or not. So my family and I moved back to Arizona just a few years ago, and we're from Arizona, but we've spent the last 20 years in Oregon, and then moved back a few years ago. So if it helps, I see a retinal specialist in Phoenix, Dr. Bacall. And I used to go to OHSU up in Oregon, in Portland.
Oh, they have my DNA up there.
Do they? Yeah. So my doctor at OHSU referred me to Dr. Bacall in Phoenix.
As in Lauren Bacall?
As in Lauren, although it's not Lauren,
Okay.
but yes, it's Bakall, if you're interested. And then I also go to Midwestern University in Glendale, and they have retinal experts there for vision correction and you know, all of those type of things. So just because I had to find all new doctors when I moved down as well. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I had doctors back in LA from the Center for the Partially Sighted and from Jules Stein. So I kind of double team them still because one is progressive and one is not. So when I said I wanted to drive with bioptic lenses, the not one said, why do you want to do that? You're already over the hill and it's over and don't bother. And I was kind of like, hey, I'm, not over the hill. I'm 30. Thank you very much. So
going to the point on talking about progressive, our youngest nephew, who's now 27 years old, he is a park ranger in the California Park state park system. And when he was going through his master's in forestry, many of their academic professors were like, you're going blind. Why do you want to become a park ranger? Because just because I'm blind doesn't mean I can't enjoy nature.
Well, okay, see, that's the thing. I found out that I was losing my vision in the mid 70s. And it wasn't until 2014 when I did the DNA that I found out I have a mutation in the mutation, which stopped the degenerative process, which is why they have me up at Oregon, because they're trying to develop gene therapy off of my crazy genes. So to tell me 30 years ago, hey, nothing's going to happen was a complete fallacy because no one can read the future. No one knows what's really going on. And so I am still driving at the age of 64 with bioptic lenses. I've been driving for over 30 years in the state of California. And, I just was able to renew my license. So no one can ever say you're blind, it's over. That they have no bloody idea what it means to have low vision.
Right.
So that's what, when your library was like, okay, this is something I can really get behind. And that's why I was asking, is VRATE like sort of the umbrella organization to the library, or are they not really connected?
No, we are not connected. VRATE is its own nonprofit standing. I just happen to be this year's chair for it, which I happen to work in the library. But the library is an active member in VRATE. If it's not me 1 year, it's another librarian.
I can see how you get sucked into both vortexes. They're really great. So yeah, I really applaud what you're doing. I'm so impressed. So thank you. It's really great to see all of this. Thank you. Oh, and Jason, thanks for the doctor referral. Yeah, I always like to have a backup wherever I am.
You're welcome.
Sorry, Phi.
Oh, no, that was great. That was great. Thank you. I know, Jason, you had mentioned you're looking for any additional services. Did you have any questions from any of our panelists?
I've been listening. It's interesting. When I was so I graduated from Arizona State. When I was going to Arizona State, I used Voc Rehab and then graduated and started my career. And I haven't you know, I may have used Voc Rehab in Oregon for my mobility training when I did my cane training, but I haven't, you know, it was good to hear. I may need to tap back into that. It's been so long and I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. And
That's what I was
so,
thinking. Yeah, I agree.
so I think it would be good to, you know, maybe tap back into that. And, you know, my challenge is you know, like I said, my family and I, we moved back to Arizona about 3.5 years ago. My wife and I, you know, grew up here all our lives until we moved to Oregon for my work and then moved back. But, you know, what I continue to look for is really just assistive technologies in, you know, the things that I have to do, right? Which is really, you know, as I shared earlier, PowerPoints, it's getting very difficult. And what I find is with the built-in readers, so I use Narrator. I tried Zoom Text. I wasn't all that thrilled with Zoom Text, and I found Narrator to be a little bit better, but even Narrator, you know, I find I struggle the most with PowerPoints. And so what I have to do is I have my assistant take everything out of the PowerPoint textually. She puts it into a Word doc, and then the reader will read the Word doc really well. But then I have to spend all my time memorizing the Word doc text when I go to give the presentation, and remembering that that's right. Slide 1 has this information. Slide 2 has this information.
Right.
And so it creates a lot of challenge for me as with PowerPoint. And, you know, anybody who knows the corporate business world knows that everybody lives and breathes by Keynote or PowerPoint, right? And so I've just noticed that's getting more and more challenging for me. My vision, I stopped driving when I was 22. I no longer can read paper text at all, nothing. I never learned Braille, which my wife to this day says, I told you so. So I never learned Braille. I think, you know, I'm at a point where probably I need to start learning Braille. Thank goodness for tablets and smartphones. I can't even imagine living in a generation that didn't have those capabilities. I just, funny enough, in the last couple of weeks have learned to use VoiceOver on my phone, and Apple's actually got a pretty good built-in training. You can learn to use VoiceOver. They've almost got a little built-in training piece to it. But up to this point, I've learned to do everything on my own. I shouldn't say that. I've used Voc Rehab for mobility training. Voc Rehab helped me while I was going through school. But I've always been one of these individuals that is, you know, as I kind of lose more and more sight, then I just learn to adapt. And I think I've finally gotten to that point where I've almost run out of ideas on how to adapt. And so now, you know, I've come to the point where I need to lean on the experts and use the experts, you know, because as part of my job, I mean, I lead very large organizations, and, you know, I retired. Before moving to Arizona, I retired from Nike Inc. and I led all of Nike Inc.'s worldwide customer care, and then retired from Nike. And now I am an executive with CVS, running a very large organization for CVS. And so, you know, as you can imagine with low vision, you know, that gets very, very, very challenging to do in that type of a fast-paced, you know, corporate environment. So, you know, what I took away from this was it's probably time to reach back out to Voc Rehab.
Exactly.
You know, maybe start to learn some different, you know, adaptive technologies. Thank goodness you know, I have a wife, I have children. You know, they will all tell you that I go on trips and I'm FaceTiming my wife to say, can you tell me what the thermostat says in the hotel room? You know, so I've learned to get creative, but, you know, there gets to a point where self-creativity kind of starts to fall a bit short. So
Phi, I want to ask you something.
This is Brian.
Might help. Phi? Sorry,
Yes.
it's Artemis. Have you, at the foundation, I've gone to those seminars with the Hadley School to learn how to more effectively use my Apple products. Do you think that's something that might be helpful to Jason?
To link up with Hadley?
Yeah.
I do. I think that
it might help
it's interesting that you bring that up. Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Hadley. We just had a president's call a week or so ago, and one of the chapters is bringing in Hadley to be a speaker. as
Okay.
just another organization that can, you know, if you just go to, I think, hadley.edu, you can sign up for their classes, you know, that you don't have to like do anything. I don't think you have to do anything more than just sign
You
up.
don't. I'm completely addicted to their seminars, so I never miss a one, because there's always something new that I learn about the devices that I've been using now for years. But I was just thinking that for Jason's, you know, sort of re-entry into assistive technology, that might be a good place to start to help with the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of Hadley. So it's
And
Hadley.
this is Brian Dulude.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead,
hi,
Brian.
Brian.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to interject.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say, Jason, if you do decide to go with vocational rehabilitation and are found eligible, then, you know, as you're working through the, to develop a plan for employment, we hold a monthly introduction to blindness virtual session that is held monthly, and it includes the comprehensive training centers that are out there that we are contracted to work with, such as Blind Incorporated in Minnesota, Colorado Center for the Blind, and Denver, Savvy Services for the Blind, Foundation for Blind Children, and also the Arizona Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. So there's a lot of options. We also introduce you to the some of the technology vendors that we work with as well. So it's a good thing that we do monthly, and try and get as many people as we can involved that are part of the rehab process.
That's great. Thank you.
No, it's fabulous.
So Brian, I think I'll just ask this just to make sure I'm clear too. So someone like Jason and like myself who have gone through Voc Rehab can come back and apply for services again. I just wanted to confirm
this
that.
This is Brian. I would say yes, and it just depends on you know, what your needs are now.
Yep. Okay.
Brian, what's the best way to reach you?
You can. I'll put my information in the chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And
You bet.
that's a good segue too, Artie. I'm going, as part of the follow-up to this, we'll send out an email to the group, to everybody who has who is here, and also others who have registered, with links to all the you know, to Brian's information and Christine. We'll put links, and we talked about Hadley here, to the VRATE conference. We'll put all that together
Excellent.
in an email and send it out to everybody, including phone numbers. I know there were some different numbers that were also Angela's number for the independent living for the blind for the 55 and older population. We'll put all of that together in an email and just share it out to everybody so you can have that.
That's great.
You know, yeah, and please, like, if you have any questions, reach out to our panelists, reach out to myself. I'm happy to like help connect and that kind of stuff. Learn about some great new services. I'm very excited to actually hear about Arizona Talking Library and understanding how to apply for those services, because when I was in Voc Rehab, that was something offered to me. So I said, yes, please, I would love that opportunity. And you know, like, I've gotten to the point where I don't read books anymore. I listen to everything.
Same here.
As probably many of you in this meeting, and it's just a great way to continue to quote unquote read, if you will, right? Like, it's something that we can continue to do. I listened to the entire Harry Potter series of books. I don't know if anyone else listened to those, like last year during the pandemic, all of them through Bard, like one after the other. It was fantastic. You know, there's so many books out there. It's like, whenever I hear about a book, I first go to Bard to see if it's available there. And if it is, then I add it to my wish list and then download it and listen to it, just like any, you know, just like you would do at the library. So super grateful for that service.
It's so accessible now. I mean, when I was in college, I was listening to Russian literature on LPs. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I was listening to Russian literature on an actual album. And everyone in my dorm would come in and listen because someone was reading with a Russian accent, like Anna Karenina or something like that. And it ended up being this like group event. But I mean, things have changed so dramatically and the technology makes it so much more accessible. You're right. I can read stuff I would never have been able to read before. That's why the talking library is just so exciting to me, because you have to scramble around to find things, and now it's all seemingly right in one spot, like a real library. Well, like a library. It's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm very effusive. It's very exciting to me.
Agreed. No, it's wonderful.
And honestly, Fi, this has been chock full of information. This has been a great session. So thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Do we have other questions from folks?
This is Deanna. I did have a question for Brian about Voc Rehab. So he mentioned having an employment plan, and I was just wondering like how long-term that can be. Like if someone does want to become an engineer or a teacher, something that requires a 4-year degree, does that mean they can use the services of Voc Rehab for the length of their education? Is Brian still here?
Thanks. This is Brian. I would say absolutely. Yeah, it's not something that is a couple month program. Because vocational rehabilitation isn't something that is done real quickly. We want good rehabilitation. We want people to have good opportunities, and if your vocational goal requires you to go to school, we'll support you through that.
Yeah, Brian, I used it for my entire undergrad, 4 years at ASU, right? So, and it was in place the whole time.
Did you? Okay, that's great to know. My brother has had a lot of anxiety when he's done Voc Rehab before, because he is interpreting it as, what job do you want right now? And so it's just good to know that I can encourage him to think longer term and not feel the pressure of securing employment immediately. So thank you.
Good question. Yeah. And Jason, I also love how, to me, I look at this as like you're one of these success stories of Voc Rehab. Working your way up through leading large teams as an executive. Like that's really, I find that pretty awesome. That you have carved that path forward for yourself and have been very successful, and Voc Rehab has been a part of that.
Well, thank you. I'm very appreciative to Voc Rehab. I would have done college with or without it, but I can tell you it sure made life a lot
easier,
a lot less stressful, right? And I mean, that was a very long time ago for me. I mean, I'm 50, almost 52. So it seems like a lifetime ago, but I still remember it. I still remember working with the Voc Rehab folks. I still remember how helpful they were. It just, it made, going through that time of my life a lot easier than I think it would have been without it. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, we are getting here in Arizona close to noon. Yeah, so I agree with you, Artie. Great content. Thank you. Before we wrap up, anybody else have questions? I want to make sure we have time for everybody to ask their questions. Julie, I think we've covered everything in the chat already, right?
Yes, and I don't have a question here, but I do want to give a big thank you to Christine, Theresa, and Brian for y'all's time today. I mean, like everybody said, this was such an informative call, and the resources that are in Arizona right now are just phenomenal. And thank you again for just hopping on and giving us this time and information. It's going to be very important moving forward, and just glad we could have y'all today.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Any final questions before we finish? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'll stay on here. If anyone wanted to chat about anything else, I'll wait till everybody drops off. But again, like Julie said, thank you to Christine and to Brian, Theresa, for being our panelists today. And we look forward to seeing everybody at our next event during our Vision Walk kickoff in January. Until then, happy holidays. Enjoy the cooler weather here in Arizona.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Everybody.
Great session.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.